What is up, SacTown? Once again, this is a SacTown Movie Buffs here, and this is Jason. And well, maybe not everybody's from SacTown, so but if you are, what is up? And if you're from another city, what is up with you? But once again, we are back again with another one of our top 10 list shows. If you've been following our series, we've been doing a top 10 list starting back 1995, and now we're actually up to 2003. So this will be the first half of our top 10 films of 2003, where we do our number 10 through number 6, and then we'll have a second show where we do our number 5 through 1 with some honorable mentions. Also on these shows, we are also doing a new thing where we actually are reviewing. We've each given an assignment to each other to review a film that we know that the other person hasn't seen yet. So with that said, let's get into it. So I'll go ahead and start this one. So the film that you gave me is Lost in Translation. So Lost in Translation stars Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson when she was very young. Basically, the basic premise is he's an actor, probably similar to kind of himself in the film, where he's actually getting jobs going over to Japan to basically shoot commercials for like Japanese commercials, basically, and which is kind of actually a very common thing. There's other actors that I've seen that they go over to the Far East and they shoot commercials over there, and they supposed to get paid. Yeah, it's really, really good money. They just go over there and spend a week over there, and he stays in a hotel and he's basically shooting commercials and that sort of stuff for different directors. And then Scarlett Johansson's character is married to Giovanni Ribisi? I always have trouble. Yeah, Ribisi, pronouncing his name, and he's actually I guess a big time photographer. So she decided to come on a trip with him and is also staying in that same hotel. Basically, obviously, they don't speak Japanese that well. They somehow find each other because he's always in the hotel after he's done, and then her Scarlett Johansson's husband is always off doing photo shoots, and so they basically kind of find each other. They kind of hang out. He may have some attraction to her, even though, there's a huge age difference and gap in there. So it's kind of a drama, but also kind of a comedy kind of situation. He does have a wife and kids back at home. Obviously their marriage is kind of maybe a little bit rocky as well. And so they kind of just basically kind of hang out. And that's kind of the basic premise of the movie. It's just these two kind of like hanging out, talking and having fun. She's got some friends that actually live there. They hang out with friends and that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much the general gist of it. Overall, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a fun film. Definitely entertaining. I enjoyed it. It's another one of those films that it's kind of simple, but I still enjoyed that it was simple. It didn't necessarily need a whole lot of fanfare on top of that. But it was fun. There was some humor in there, had a decent story. And then it also kind of ends kind of ambiguous a little bit, you know what I mean? So I kind of like that about it as well. So not a full, what's going to happen with either one of these people, at the very end. So yeah, overall enjoyed it. So
cool.
So cool.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad. I was surprised that you hadn't seen that one because I thought pretty much everybody had seen that one. Everyone who's like a real movie buff, I thought had seen that one. So
yeah, it's one of those ones that I had heard about and just for whatever reason, just never caught it. You know what I mean? And I'll be the first to admit I don't usually see everything. I do see a lot of movies a year, but I don't usually see movies unless I feel like I'm gonna have a pretty good shot of liking them, or someone has like strongly recommended me seeing it or something of that nature. And so it was just one of those ones that maybe I thought I was going to see. I don't think it was a huge hit at the box office necessarily. I don't think it bombed, but I don't know if it was like a blockbuster at the box office necessarily, but I know it was respected in a lot of critic circles, but just one that I just never got around to seeing basically. Yeah. So,
well, glad you finally did. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your homework assignment was a completely different film.
Yeah.
It is Hunted. So tell us about that one.
Well, this one, it stars, as you can see there, or that way, Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. Tommy Lee Jones plays he's a tracker basically, and he has to track down one of his former students who he trained to basically be a killer. He trained to be a killer and to essentially evade detection. He trained them, and then he kind of went crazy, I guess you could say. Whether it's post-traumatic stress or schizophrenia, it's hard to tell. But after serving, basically he went crazy and became like a murderer, paranoid schizophrenic murderer living in woods. And Tommy Lee Jones now is trying to track him down with the help of the CIA, I think. So it is it's okay. It wasn't really that great. Sorry, Kier. I mean, I didn't hate it. It was better than Van Wilder. But it's kind of exactly the movie that I thought it was going to be when it came out in 2003, and I was like, I think I can skip that one. It's pretty much what I expected, which was just kind of a pretty generic thriller. There's nothing really that stands out about it too much. It is short, so I thought maybe at least it'll be like a good solid thriller, because it seems like so many movies these days are too long. I looked at the poster and I was like, I bet that's 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I found out it was 95 minutes. I was like, oh, maybe I will enjoy this, but it was just okay. Like it kind of hints that it's going to be about like some kind of deeper thing, like it's about the way the government uses and abuses and discards soldiers. But it doesn't. It just kind of glanced over that, and then it's just back to like Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro fighting, and you pretty much know how it's going to end from the beginning. But I mean, it's a well done movie. No, it's not. Why did I just say that? I mean, it's not a poorly made movie, but
you loved it. But
it's William Friedkin, who was once like a really great filmmaker. He did The Exorcist and he did The French Connection. But to be honest, I've never really loved any of his other movies. I liked Killer Joe a lot, but between The Exorcist and Killer Joe, there's not a whole lot, and this unfortunately isn't another bright spot in there for me. So it was okay. Okay, so you're still 1 for 3, in other words.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily love these movies, so these are just ones that I'm picking that you haven't seen.
I know, because I've already seen pretty much everything else from them.
Yeah. So you kind of, when you leave me to a very limited selection, we got to go with who we got to go with, man. I give you the best of what's left. So
it's what I deserve for seeing everything the year it comes out.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's on you, man. That's on you. Cool. Well, with that said, let's get into our real top 10 of that year. So I'll have you start off with number 10 of 2003, sir.
Number 10 is, for me, Oh Boy.
Okay.
So this is it's one that I need to watch again, frankly. It's been a really long time since I watched it, but I think it's a really excellent movie. It's a revenge thriller. It is directed by Park Chan-wook, who's made some. I'm kind of blanking on what else he's done now, but he's done a lot of really good kind of violent, messed up movies, like Old Boy. Old Boy is a very violent, messed up movie. But it's got a guy who is kidnapped, wakes up in a room where he's being held prisoner, and he doesn't know why, for quite a substantial amount of time. I don't remember how long, but a while. And then when he finally gets out of this room, he basically goes on a revenge spree against who did this to him. So it's got a lot of it looks amazing. It's got some fantastic action scenes in it. There's a long tracking shot down a hallway involving a hammer, where he's just like kicking the crap out of people with a hammer, and it's just like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. There's a twist at the end, which is pretty jaw-dropping. And pretty amazing where it goes from that. It's a very Shakespearean movie. It's kind of a Shakespearean tragedy, if Shakespeare had really got into some really messed up stuff, which he did.
Some really hardcore action violence. So,
yeah.
A lot of his plays are kind of violent, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Titus, but Titus Andronicus, but that's got incest, cannibalism, murder. Shakespeare knew how to get down when it came to that kind of stuff. So, but I really like Old Boy a lot. It's one it's overdue a revisit. I haven't watched it in over a decade. So, but it's a really cool movie. Old Boy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think you actually showed that one to me. I do remember liking it. I didn't love it, but I do remember liking it. And I don't remember a whole lot of the details about it. I do remember that there was a decent twist, and I do remember the twist on it. But yeah, overall I liked it. And then, what's that?
It's hard to forget that twist.
yeah, definitely. I do remember having a very good twist. Usually for me, if you have a twist and it pays off for me, overall I enjoy it. So, but yeah, good choice. Good choice for number 10.
Cool.
So, and just FYI, for this year, 2003, this isn't for you. This is for the people at home watching.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say though.
For 2003, I don't own a lot of the films, especially in the bottom half. I own a few more, maybe I'm in the top half, hopefully. So I'll be bringing a lot of these in via imagery. So I always throw that out there just so people know. So, and always, unlike Jason, I don't own, everything. So this is one I'm surprised I don't own, but because it is a great film to watch around the holidays. My number 10 is actually going to be Elf. So everybody knows Elf. Great story with Will Ferrell. He's obviously was adopted as a baby by a group of elves, and he grew up to be, a giant. And is living in the North Pole, and at some point decides he wants to go find his family where he came from, and goes to, I think they're in New York, right? Yeah, New York, and finds his father, who's played by James Caan, and and he still is very elf-like, so very childish, very likes candy, stuff like that. Does all the stuff that elves would do, that kind of stuff. So it's a comedy. It's a very good, touching story. Because James Caan's not a believer in Santa or the holidays and that kind of stuff. So he's also trying to get him to believe in this kind of stuff. And so it's a really, really cool story. Always one that I enjoy. And just overall, just a really fun, great holiday film. So number 10 for me is Elf.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love Elf. It's not in my top 10, but it's definitely in the runner-ups. And I noticed it was actually a pretty good year for holiday films. Like this came out and Bad Santa came out.
It did. Yeah,
those are two movies that they're on the favorites list. They're, I might not watch them every Christmas season, but they definitely get a lot of play at least every few years or something. And also Pieces of April. That's one that I get to every other Thanksgiving or so. So it was a good year for holiday films. But
I agree.
love Elf. Yeah. And that's the movie that I wasn't really on the Will Ferrell train at that time. I wasn't a big old school fan. So I wasn't really. I was. Yeah, well, that's because you have bad taste. But I wasn't really on the Will Ferrell train. But that's the movie that got me on there. So yeah, excellent choice.
Cool. Number 9.
Okay. Number 9 is one of the movies that I almost gave you as the challenge because there were quite a few good movies from 2003 that you hadn't seen. And that is American Splendor. So this movie, it stars, oh God, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm blanking. Paul Giamatti. As Harvey Picar, who was a comic strip writer. And not like the kind of comics that are popular these days, not heroes, crazy stuff like that. He was more of the Robert Crumb variety.
Circus.
No, not hardly. But he was more of the R. Crumb variety, like the kind of real life comics, like kind of the seedier side of life. So that's my kind of stuff. I'm not into the superheroes that much, but It's a really excellent movie. It's another one that I haven't watched in a really long time that I really need to revisit. But it's Paul Giamatti is fantastic in it. It's got a lot of similarities to Ghost World. It's got kind of a Ghost World sensibility to it. Hope Davis is really good in it. It's just a really good, funny, but also moving biopic about Harvey Picar. So that's my number 9, American Splendor.
Cool. Yeah, another one I've heard of, just never got around to seeing. So, so can't say too much about it. But cool. Maybe it's one I'll check out. You know, if we ever do another challenge for 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool choice. Moving on to my number 9. It's one that I already know you don't care for, but a lot of people do care for. So we're gonna bring it in anyways. You're not gonna like a lot of the ones in my top 10, probably. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. It's actually Matchstick Men. So yeah. So one that I've always enjoyed. Stars Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell. Nicolas Cage is basically they're con men, basically. I guess another word for con men, which I didn't know until the movie came out, is also called Matchstick Men, I guess. I wasn't really for sure about that. And so Nicolas Cage is basically kind of the leader, and his protege is kind of Sam Rockwell, and they basically do cons on people. Obviously, they do all kind of like, tell people they won, prizes and that kind of stuff. And then, the people will send them a check, and then they'll go to their house as like insurance agents and say that, the person that sent you a check was they're the people, but they go to their house and say, hey, these aren't good people. They scammed you. If you just want to, write me another check for X amount or something of that nature, we can definitely get this squared away for you. And they kind of reluctantly get people to write them a check. And that's kind of the stuff that they do. Nicolas Cage's character also has a very high OCD and is on all kinds of medications and that kind of stuff. And while he's like kind of on the medications, he ends up finding out that he has a daughter that's like 14 years ago that he's never seen. And she comes into his life and kind of wreaks havoc on his life, and kind of, in some ways kind of helps him as well, because, like I said, he hasn't, been on any dates, hasn't seen any women, hasn't really interacted with a lot of other people other than Sam Rockwell's character. And he only really interacts with him when they're working. They're not like friends. They don't hang out or do anything or anything. So she kind of helps bring him a little bit out of that shell. So it's kind of a comedy. It's a heist movie. It's got a lot of twists and turns in terms of the heist that they're trying to pull off. And then it's got, like I said, a really, really interesting twist towards the end as well. So yeah, really good movie. And it's got a really kind of it's one of those movies where it's like it ends really, really well. It's kind of a really, really good ending that I like about it, because like there's a lot of bad things that happen to him. But like in the end, you always feel like, kind of like he's, probably going to be okay, kind of thing. So I kind of like movies that end like that. So kind of a slice of life, so, but that's my number 9 is Matchstick Men.
Cool. Yeah, I don't remember it that much, to be honest. I just saw it the one time in 2003 at the theater, and it didn't blow me away. But that could, I've revisited movies that didn't work the first time and really liked them the second time. So I can't really say anything bad about it. It seems like the kind of movie I would like. I like movies about con men. I like all those actors. I don't know. I just remember I gave it 2 stars back in the day. Who knows what I give it now? So, sorry, man.
Cool.
Maybe I'll check it out again someday.
Cool. Well, and that's the beauty of these lists, is we don't all have to agree or like each other's lists. So, and it's probably better that way, because that it just shows the world that you're wrong a lot. So,
whatever.
Cool. All right, man. Moving on to number 8.
Okay, so number 8, I make fun of you whenever this happens to you, but this I can't find it.
What?
I can't find it. I've owned this movie since 2003, but I have no idea where it is. Either it's misfiled on my shelves, or I lent it to somebody a long time ago and never got it back. I really don't know, and I make fun of you when you say that. But it
happens. It does. I mean, it really does. Actually, I think I owned Matchstick Men at one point, but I have no clue what happened to it. So, Same with Elf.
I ordered the Blu-ray before I started, so it's on its way. But my number 8 is School of Rock. So
Okay.
I love School of Rock. It's one of my favorite movies. It's a Richard Linklater film. It stars Jack Black as I can't remember the exact circumstances why he ends up teaching music at school, but it's like the quintessential Jack Black role. I think I like Jack Black in most things he's done, but to me that's the quintessential role because he is such a rock music fan in real life. Playing this kind of immature rock and roll instructor working with kids is like the perfect role for him. It's a Linklater movie. One of my favorite directors, Dazed and Confused, the Before Sunrise, Sunset, Midnight trilogy. One of my favorite filmmakers. So it's one of his lighter films, and that's one of the things I love about Richard Linklater is he goes all over the map. Like he makes movies that are really adult oriented and mature, and then he makes movies like silly comedies like that. And I think it's just a perfect. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. There you go. So that's what is on my shelf, or was for 15 years, and who knows what happened to it. It's on its way back. So that's one of my favorites. So absolutely number 8. I think back in the day it was even higher than that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you really love that one. So cool. Yeah. I like School of Rock. I haven't seen it in many, many years. It didn't make my top 10 or honorable mentions, but I do remember enjoying it. I'm not a big rock guy, so I liked it for what it was and respected it. It is funny. It's got a good story, and it's a lot of fun. So I do like it. So just doesn't quite make the top 10 or top 15 in my case. So. All right. Maybe if I did a top 25, it would be right there. Who knows?
Thanks for bringing in the poster, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem, man. I make dreams come true, But cool. Good choice. My number 8, again, I think it was the last one that I don't own from at least this half. So I haven't looked at the second half. I mean, I know what's that?
So you have one.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I have 2. I have 7 and 6. So
okay, never mind.
This one I know you like, which is The Station Agent. So I just saw this one recently. Stars Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones. Basically he is obviously he's a dwarf or little person in real life, and also in the movie. And basically he's really, really obsessed with trains. So him and basically his the owner of they work for like a train, like a miniature train company where they fix miniature trains basically for people and that kind of stuff. Him and the owner, and that's pretty much his only real friend. In addition to that, they also are really into trains, so they go to like train movie parties basically, where they all sit around and somebody has recorded themselves, kind of like if you were a tornado chaser kind of thing. They're like train chasers, so they basically film themselves driving alongside a train and watching it and that kind of stuff. And so he's really into that kind of stuff and watching trains and so. That's what he gets off on. He likes trains. So it's not a big spoiler, but basically the guy that owns the shop ends up kind of passing away, and basically leaves him some property that's somewhere in New Jersey. And so when he gets there, the property is basically a kind of like a train depot kind of place. So it's really, really tiny. I mean, it's basically like a studio apartment, if you think of it that way. I don't think there's electricity in the beginning. Maybe there's running water. I'm not for sure. So he basically lives there in this town that he's never lived in before. So he basically kind of retires and moves to this town. The guy also must probably left him some money, I'm assuming, too. He kind of befriends a couple people in the town. It's a really, really small town. So he befriends a woman and a guy, and I'm on the cover there. And it's kind of just like a slice of life. So it's basically just him and his struggles, and all three of them, they all kind of have little different issues, especially the woman. She had a son that passed away and basically is divorced from her husband. And And there's some other characters in there as well. So it's just basically kind of a slice of life film, and it's a little hard to describe fully. But basically it's just his story, and he's kind of coming out of his own shell because he's always kind of been a loner. And he's kind of basically kind of forced to hang out with these people, and he kind of enjoys it. Hanging out with friends and getting out, and I think part of the reason why he's been a loner so his whole life is because he's a dwarf, and he's afraid of people making fun of him, which it sounds like it kind of happened a lot as he was growing up. And there's also evidence of that in the beginning of the film. Like there's like people staring at him and making jokes and cracks about him, about kids going, "Wow, I'm already taller than you are," kind of stuff. And you could just tell that he's been used to that kind of stuff his entire life. But it's got a lot of humor, it's got a lot of heart, and just overall just a really, really fun and good movie. So one I've always enjoyed. And that's my number 8, The Station Agent.
Nice. Yeah, I love The Station Agent. I've watched that movie many, many, many times. I think it is, like you said, it's just a really good slice of life movie. It's got a lot of humor, a lot of heart. And I really like the 3 actors, the central actors, Peter Dinklage and Patricia Clarkson, who was also in Pieces of April that year, and Bobby Cannavale, who went on to have a lot of good roles in TV. Mostly, he works in TV a lot. He's all over the place now. But back then, I don't know what he was in before that, but I think that was the first time I'd ever seen him. But I really like the way those 3 blend together, because
they're kind of like a motley crew of people, because they're all very, very different in what they do and what they like, and it's a very interesting, like Bobby's really a loud, brash guy. He owns like his own like coffee stand / hot dog stand kind of thing, and he's the one that actually makes him kind of come out of his shell. And then the actress, she's kind of like she's had a lot of drama in her life, and she's really just kind of like a reckless driver, and always is covered in like paint from her painting. And they're just a really weird mesh of people that they all kind of just hang out and kind of click. So
yeah, they wouldn't normally even encounter each other usually.
No, but they just happen to be in a really, really small town with not a lot of people. And obviously a town like that's going to notice somebody that's 3 feet tall, you know what I mean? So he's going to be hard to miss. And so that's kind of what makes their friendship kind of work. And it's, like I said, just a really fun film. So
yeah, it's really like, it makes it believable that those 3 people would actually enjoy hanging out with each other. It makes it believable, which is probably harder than it seems. So I love that movie. Love it.
Cool.
Choice. Yeah.
Number 7.
Number 7 for me is a little bit more of a downer slice of life, but also a little more of a downer slice of life, and that is Elephant. So this is a movie that it came out. Obviously, this is just a couple of years after the Columbine shooting. So school shootings, well, unfortunately, they never kind of go away, but it was definitely in the public consciousness.
They're gone away for now since there's no school. Everybody's at home.
Silver lining. I don't know. But anyway, Elephant is it's a brilliant movie. I think this one I know was higher up in my top 10 back then, but I don't know why it's not this time. But anyway, it's a movie about a school shooting basically. And what I think makes this movie so interesting is the structure of it. It's directed by Gus Van Sant, who's made a lot of really great movies, and during this time period, he was really into experimental films, and this is definitely his best of the experimental movies that he made during that time period. So what's so interesting about this movie is that the whole movie takes place about 20, 25 minutes or so before the shooting happens. But it shows you this period of time from all different vantage points. So it kind of introduces you to all the people who are going to play a part, essentially, in what happens. And it shows you the 20 minutes in their life leading up to when the shit hits the fan, basically. So it's a really hit. What was that for? But it's a hypnotic movie, I think. It's not for everybody, but it has a lot of Gus Van Sant really likes these really long tracking shots where you're just watching somebody walk. It's not for everybody, I like that kind of stuff because it really draws me into the world that the movie inhabits. So I think it's a brilliant movie. I've watched it many, many times over the years. When it came out, I probably watched it 10 times just that year. I think it's a fascinating movie. It's obviously disturbing, but it doesn't revel in the bloodshed at all. It's not gratuitous or anything, but it definitely is disturbing. So, but it's a great movie, I think, and it's my number 7 for 2003, and that is, trying to get the glare off of there, Elephant.
Yeah. I don't remember a whole lot about that film. I don't remember loving it or anything like that. So I do remember that I felt like when you mentioned the long tracking scenes, that's kind of what sticks out in my mind about that film, and just being, I don't know, I guess I didn't care for that style personally. So and I've got no problem with films about school shootings or anything like that. Bowling for Columbine was one of my top movies of the previous year, but I just not one that really that I would personally revisit or want to watch again. So but yeah, different strokes, man, different strokes. It's not for everybody, as you mentioned, and I'm one of those everybody that is not for.
Whatever.
Cool. All right. Well, moving on to my number 7, another one that you probably don't care for just much, which is awesome. So number 7 is going to be The Italian Job. So one that I always loved. I always like good little action type comedies. And this is another heist movie as well. So basically, Italian Job has got a lot of people in it. It stars Mark Wahlberg, and he's basically kind of like he's a protege under like Donald Sutherland, and there's a bunch of other people in as well. And they basically go to pull off like a job, basically kind of a job where they're going to get like some gold. And they are kind of double crossed by Edward Norton's character, who basically ends up running off with all the gold, kind of situation. And the film is basically, from there, it kind of takes a couple different twists and turns. But at that point, basically, they end up tracking down where Edward Norton is, and they try to pull off a heist job in order to basically get the gold back from him that he kind of stole from them, from the job. And it also stars Charlize Theron, Jason Statham. It's got Mos Def's in there. It's got a bunch of people in there. So it's really just a fun kind of comedy, caper film, if you will, heist film. It's got some good action. It's funny in parts. And just another fun, just really cool, like I said, heist film. And I've always been a big sucker for heist films and con man films, similar to Matchstick Men, and this one's kind of no different. So that is my number 7 for 2003. The Italian Job. The Italian Job.
Yeah. No, I don't have any anything really bad to say about it, but kind of like The Score, which was in your top 10 for 2002, it was just kind of, I don't remember anything standing out about it. It just seemed like it's kind of
another one starring Edward Norton.
Yeah, so yeah, another like pardon me, but just kind of a generic movie. That's what I remember. Again, I haven't seen it in 17 years or 18 years in the case of The Score, but I don't remember anything standing out about it. And if I, when it comes to that kind of movie, I'm always going to get Ocean's 11 before I get either of those. So it's all right. Maybe it's a little better than I remember. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot better than you remember. This is number 7 film of that year.
Yeah, I doubt that, but okay.
I just said it, so we know what's up.
That's why I doubt it. Cool. Good choice.
All right. Well, moving right along to number 6.
Number 6, we're not going to have to take very long because it is The Station Agent.
Awesome.
Already talked about it. Yeah. One of my favorite movies. Definitely one of my favorite slice of life movies. Love it. Station Agent, number 6.
Cool. Cool. My number 6, you've already kind of alluded to, because you already said you don't like this film, but I do. so it's my number 6, and it is going to be Old School, which everybody loves. I don't know why you don't care for it. Pretty much everybody loves that movie. So just a really fun comedy. Obviously, it stars Will Ferrell, Luke Wilson, Vince Vaughn. Basically, they're about a group of guys that are kind of going through a midlife crisis, if you will, and they all kind of decide to like basically start their own fraternity at like a college, and that's basically what it is. They're basically old school guys that are like join like this fraternity out of college. So it's just got a lot of debauchery and humor and drinking, and they go streaking, and it's just a really funny movie. One that I laugh at almost every time I put it on. I get a kick out of it. So definitely the one that's kind of. This one, actually, I know you don't care, but this one I would say probably put him more on the map than Elf, probably in terms of becoming a big star. Because
I didn't realize they were the same year. They were the same year. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is probably the one that I think that he's probably when he first started getting noticed, especially for like the I forget what they call them. They're not the Rat Pack. They're like the Frat Pack or something like that. And that's actually kind of where this one comes from with like Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, Luke Wilson, Ben Stiller, all those guys, because that's when they started making all those movies together around that period of time. So, but yeah, one that I definitely enjoy, and most people do. I don't know what's wrong with Jason, but most people enjoy it. So that is my number 6.
Yeah, another one that I don't really remember much, but I know, unlike the Italian Job and Matchstick Men, which I gave like 2.5 stars, I definitely remember giving Old School 1 star. So
well, you're going to find a lot of people in the comments that are going to be disagreeing with you on that one, I can tell you, because it's a cult classic for sure. So, but hey, different folks for different folks, man.
That's not a cult classic. It was a huge hit. You can't be a cult classic.
It's a huge hit classic is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
it's a turd is what it is.
Well, hey, let us know in the comments. If you like Old School, if you like any of these films, let us know in the comments. Let us know your thoughts and your takes on them for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes the first half of our 2003. Clearly, we couldn't be any more far apart on these films.
I hope your second half's a little better here.
I hope your second half's a little better. Is what I'm hoping. I think the only one we're in agreement on was the Station Agent, pretty much. But yeah. So yeah, just definitely, if you like the channel, we ask that you continue to like and subscribe to the channel, and then always hit that bell notification. And definitely be looking out for the part 2 of our top 10 films of 2003, and we'll be getting that uploaded soon. We usually space them about a week out or so. So definitely be looking out for that one. Hopefully there'll be a lot more films that we agree upon in that one. Probably not, but you never know. You never know. So we thank you guys again for watching, and we will be seeing you all again real soon. We hope you have a great day.